Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3. Testing. Testing. Testing.
And we'll just speak into the laptop mic as well. Will we ask him a question? So I see the echo that you're coming because that's playing and then it's not. Yeah. So I think when we show only this speaking, we want mute here. Radio on mute right now.
Testing. Testing 1 2 3.
It'll work, but also this is the only speaker that's working. Those ones don't. I called him that he said that.
Which is loud enough. Do you want me to talk from the earphone or call the mic? We'll have to mute it every time we're done talking, kind of thing. When he's speaking? I think so. There's another guy speaking on Espinosa. I think we should start. That is so. He can't see the audience, right? But he will be able to?
We will turn it on.
Oh, cool.
Every time
So when I talk, mute and mute, right? Is that what you're saying on this thing?
I think for the
Assalamu alaikum, Sidi Bilal. Can you hear us and see us? Bilal, where? Are you there? Can you see us and hear us?
just step away to get coffee.
Okay. Can you call me again?
I'll go.
Okay, go.
We're just gonna do an intro and then I'll let you know when we can start.
Let me just show my face. Can you see me? Assalamu alaikum, Sidi Bilal. How are you doing? My man. Nice to see you. Allahu Akbar. We're here for you, man. I was hoping we'd get to see you in person today, but that's okay. We're going to see Dr. Stein. Okay, inshallah. Let us know when you're around. We'll try to find you. Where's this going to go again?
Just do me one favor while I've got your attention. Send me a message on Signal instead of WhatsApp.
All right, you guys got that? All right. We're going to start now. Everybody heard that. That's okay. You're going to get a lot of messages now. Give me 10 seconds. Inshallah. Okay, assalamu alaikum rahmatullah, everyone, and welcome to Maryam Islamic Center. I'm your host, Rehan Farouk, from the community. It's my pleasure to be here with you today. We're going to get started in the interest of time. As Faizan said at the very beginning, Maryam Islamic Center is a 501c3 registered organization, as is ISGH. Therefore, this event, and any event with any politician or any other type of event, is not an endorsement of the political views expressed. We provide equal access, so Mr. Trump and Kamala, Vice President Kamala, are welcome to come here anytime, and we'll consider the offer. We are issue focused. This is not a political rally, and there will be no fundraising that will occur through the course of this event. Here's your itinerary for this event. We're going to have a conversation with Dr. Butch Ware, Sidi Bilal, as we call him, followed by an introduction of a dear friend of ours here who's also running for office as part of the Green Party. His name is Eddie Espinoza. And then we'll have Dr. Jill Stein come up and speak for 20 minutes with moderated Q&A. Q&A will be similar to how it's done at Maryam Masjid. Line up on either side. We'll come and call you. If you don't line up, we will not address your question, so please line up, and we'll try to get to as many questions as we can. And we will respect the masjid, and we'll be done by 8:25 p.m., inshallah. So let me read something to you. It's about prioritizing our faith and humanity, taking a stand for justice and rejecting anyone who has supported, enacted, or promised to perpetuate such evil. It's a quote from a letter from American Muslim scholars and imams that was just published a day or two ago. So as we meet today under clouds of war and genocide and tit-for-tat reprisals, I will cut to the chase, and I want to invite Dr. Bilal Ware. I could read you his long bio, but let me just tell you something else from the heart about Dr. Bilal Ware, who I call a friend and a mentor. He last came to Houston, at least when I recall, to give a talk about poets and prophets, and he spoke about Rumi and Ahmadu Bamba. And he talked about the nonviolent resistance of Ahmadu Bamba against the French and how that was an influence on his life. And I've taken some of his classes, the scholars, the Ink of Scholars, among many others. And it's kind of one of those moments where you have to pinch yourself to realize that somebody that you know, somebody who is such an advocate of our community is on such a prominent platform. I won't be able to do justice to him, so I'll let him speak and let you decide for yourselves who Sidi Bilal is. So without further ado, Bilal Ware.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi. How's the sound? How is the return of the salams? I can't hear you guys from this end.
It was very loud.
It's pretty good. Yeah, we've got a couple hundred people here. Everyone can see you. Everyone can hear you. So we're ready to go. Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. So inshallah ta'ala, we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm really, first of all, deeply humbled at the invitation and the opportunity. Really delighted that my good friend Rehan Farouk is the person that could introduce me. And I look forward to joining you guys in the community in the broader Houston metro area tomorrow. Some of you may know that I have a son with special needs and that I have care arrangements that I could not break with him for today. So please accept my apologies, and I look forward to meeting with you guys. I'll be in Houston both tomorrow and Friday, inshallah. In the interest of time, and to prepare the stage for my sister soldier, for my running mate, Dr. Jill Stein. And since we are in a masjid, and since my real vocation before I got pulled into the fight against genocide in this time, the fight against Zionism, which is a form of white supremacy in this time, my principal vocation is that of a teacher of history and a teacher of the history of the Quran, specifically the history of Islamic education in West Africa. How's my volume? Is everybody able to hear me? Just nod if you can hear me. Alhamdulillah, tabarakallah. Okay, so we're going to try this even though it's a remote exercise and I don't have audio from your guys' end. We're going to do a Quran exam to begin with. So I've been told that this is a 501c3 organization, which of course all mosques are, and that we are prohibited from doing any official party campaigning, and you for sure will not hear any official party campaigning from me this evening. But I've been informed that we are able to talk about our current political situation and to ask for your support. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the entire moment that we are in Quranic terms, and we are going to start with a quiz, okay? I'm going to give you two ayahs. And you guys are going to tell me what they mean in the current context, okay? So we're going to have two ayahs and a hadith. This will be an actual khutbah, but we'll try to pack it into 11 minutes or less. The first of the ayahs, God says in Surah Luqman, what we translate as, and have you heard any sound worse than the braying of donkeys? Have you heard any sound worse than the braying of an ass. With apologies for the language, but this is just the English translation of the verse. Have you heard any sound worse than the braying of a jackass? You guys know the ayah, right? Surah Luqman. And do you know of a political party that represents itself with a donkey? Do you know of a political party that represents itself with a donkey? I can't hear you, so I need to see you nodding. I need to see you smiling. I need to see you raise your hands. Do this right quick. Okay, now we understand. Good. So, and are they at this moment braying like jackasses? Are they at this moment raising their voices, making sounds that mean nothing, saying that they are going to call for a ceasefire when they are currently in power and fully capable of effectuating a ceasefire at this very moment? Telling you that they are going to stop genociding our brothers and sisters in Gaza as they go and extend their violence into Lebanon, into Lebanon. The braying of jackasses. They lie to our faces. And I just want to point out that when I joined this campaign, one of the first things that I did 5 weeks ago was take a meeting with Dalia Mogahed, another one of these long-standing relationships from inside the Muslim community, brilliant scholar at the Institute for Social Policy and Understanding in DC. And she ran the numbers for me. Numbers that the Democrats certainly knew. That in 2020, Joe Biden was able to carry the swing states of Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Georgia because he received 65% of the Muslim vote in those states. By January 2024, the Democrats were polling at under 15% in the states of Michigan, Georgia, and Pennsylvania. They have already lost this election. They are braying like jackasses. They are making noise in public to make it seem as though there's still an election to be had, but they have lost the Muslim community. In the very state of Texas, Yaqeen Institute has done recent polling that has not been publicly released that says that as of right now, 53% of the Muslim community that plans to vote is voting third party. 15% for the braying jackasses of Team Blue. 4% for Team Red. So understand that when this mainstream media narrative comes up, that certain third parties that wear green kufis, that they are costing you the election, that they are going to get Trump elected, they are gaslighting you. They are trying to pin the blame on the Muslim community and scapegoat the Muslim community for an election that they have already lost and that they know they have already lost. The braying of jackasses. In the interest of time, I won't go too much further into Team Blue. I'll just say one other thing about the liberals, because our team, we are not liberals. No liberals on the green team, okay? No conservatives on the green team either. People that are interested in restoring democracy to the American people. So one thing that Malcolm, and those of you that know a little bit about my story, know that I became a Muslim at age 15, that I read the autobiography of Malcolm X cover to cover in one night when I was 15 years old, and it changed my life. So Malcolm, Alhaj Malik Shabazz, Malcolm X, my teacher at distance, my mentor. I read the Quran, I read the autobiography of Malcolm X cover to cover in one night. The next night, I read an English translation of the Quran that I had checked out of my public school library. And before the end of the week, I had taken Shahada. Malcolm brought me to Islam. Malcolm was and remains my first teacher, and Malcolm told me how to read the liberals and the conservatives. And we need to stop thinking of ourselves as being allied with these groups because they're playing games with us. So here's what Malcolm said about liberals and conservatives. He said, the liberal is a fox. It bares its teeth and you think that it's smiling at you, but you are on the menu. He said that the liberal has perfected the art of posing as the Negro's friend and benefactor. And you guys are now learning that these people have been smiling in your face and stabbing you in the back, playing in your face, expecting you to sign on when they have decimated, literally, decimate means to kill 1 in every 10. They've more than now decimated the population of Gaza. And they expect you to still support them. That ship has sailed. And anyone that is in our community that is still tethered to that, understand that it's because they are throwing good money after bad. They have already invested in that party, and therefore they are afraid to break from it. Second ayah. I told you I'm going to keep it Quranic. My first book is The Walking Quran, Islamic Education, Embodied Knowledge and History in West Africa. It's the story of how West African Quran teachers left the arena of just teaching and inserted themselves into the principal social struggles of their time, abolishing the Atlantic slave trade, fighting against imperialism. I didn't know that I was going to get written into the story, but here we are, okay? And in that book, I focused on the way that the teaching of the Quran animated their social activism. So let's bring it back to the Quran, and we'll give you the other ayah in today's khutbah. The second ayah in today's khutbah, and you know what? Let's unmute the mic. Let's see if anybody can guess which surah the next ayah is going to come from. Say again? Surah Al-Fil. Good. Oh, see, I like this group. This is a group that understands the inner meanings of the Quran and how they apply to our current moment. So what is the ayah? And have you seen how your Lord dealt with the party of the elephant? Have you seen how your Lord dealt with the party of the elephant? Now, is there a political party that represents itself with an elephant? Yes, there is. And aren't they playing in your face too? Trying to get your allegiance when they want to ban you, when they want to humiliate you, when their leadership, even if their rank and file is not mostly racist, their leadership certainly is. Open white supremacists. A domestic terrorist that tried to overthrow the U.S. government, and a convicted criminal. There is one political party that is available on 95% of American ballots that is not led by a criminal. Because Team Blue is led by a war criminal, ICC and ICJ have concluded that the Israeli state is an illegal apartheid state. It is conducting an illegal genocide in the midst of an illegal occupation. The truth is that the Biden-Harris regime, if they travel outside the United States, they should be arrested for war crimes. But it is equally true that on Team Red, they have threatened to continue and finish the job, and they have banned us, they have humiliated us, they've locked us up. Both parties have done this. The snarling wolf, every bit as dangerous as the cunning fox. Malcolm said of the conservative, the conservative is the wolf. It bears its teeth. You know you are on the menu. So let us examine now in the Quran, how did the Lord deal with the party of the elephant, with the birds? Birds seem to be small in number. They seem to be weak and insignificant, but when they move in a flock, they are capable of striking with deadly force. There is one political party available to 95% of voters that does not accept AIPAC money, that does not accept not only AIPAC money, that doesn't accept AIPAC's money, doesn't accept any PAC's money. No political action committee can contribute to Team Green. No corporation can contribute to Team Green. Fundraising is always individual donors and only the federally allowed maximum of $3,300. Nobody can write $1 million check to this party that shall remain nameless because I am not campaigning. But that means that we all have to support. We all have to find someone, hypothetically, that may have a QR code that allows us to support in practical terms before leaving this 501c3 establishment. We have to move together as a flock. We have to consolidate power. We have to consolidate resources, and it is urgent, exceedingly urgent. We have to write our names in the scales. We have to write our name on the law as amongst those that said that we resist. We do not assent to this genocide, because whoever stands with Pharaoh is washed away with the flood. Enter into a voting booth and you sign your name that you positively assent to be governed by those that did this to your people, then you have to understand that every innocent soul can come against you with a claim on the day of judgment saying that you contributed to their murder. We are treating this as a political matter, but it is a matter of the utmost spiritual and religious importance, and that seems to be the sign that it's time for me to wrap. So I'm going to close it with this. In Surah At-Tawbah, last ayah that we're going to go through, this Quran's 9th chapter, 75th to 77th verses, the only surah of Quran that begins without Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. And the reason is that those names of mercy do not belong at the beginning of a surah that goes this hard at people. The Quran being complete, it replaces it with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim in another surah, so that there are exactly 114 Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim in Quran. But in Surah At-Tawbah, God tells a story of a previous community that said, "O Lord, grant to us from your bounty, and if you grant to us from your bounty, then we shall be generous." And then God granted to them, and they withheld. So God punished them by putting nifaq, hypocrisy, in their hearts. Understand that hypocrisy is not the sin. Hypocrisy is the punishment. The sin is stinginess. If you have it within your capacity to give, then you must give, lest you have hypocrisy put into your heart. And what was the case of the hypocrites of Medina? The case of the hypocrites of Medina was the case of many in our community. They were waiting it out to see how it went, not realizing that by waiting, instead of throwing their weight behind this new movement, that they were themselves the ones that were sabotaging the affair. We have been building big suburban mosques for 20 years, but it has not protected us from genocide. We need to build political power. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Okay, thank you so much. Next, I'd like to ask Eddie Espinoza, who is, there's two people on the Green Party ticket who are running and this is a statewide office, Texas Railroad Commissioner, and Eddie, it's great to have you here, so please introduce yourself.
Oh, well, thank you for hosting this event. And my name is Eddie Espinoza. I am the Green Party candidate for Texas Railroad Commissioner. Now, the Railroad Commission, let's see, there's I think they're hearing an echo. Yeah, maybe it's my. Okay. Test 1, 2. Okay, I think that's better. Yeah, the Railroad Commission has nothing to do with railroads. The Railroad Commission has everything to do with regulating and overseeing the entire oil and gas industry in the state. They are the ones that are supposed to be keeping an eye on oil and gas polluters and penalizing them, but that has not been happening. This commission has been controlled by Texas Republicans for the past 30 years, and we need new leadership on that commission. Before I talk about the commission, I want to talk about global warming. Now, here in Texas, we're all experiencing record heat waves, record heat domes, record droughts, record flooding, and record wildfires. Now, the corruption is so bad in Texas politics that Texas Republicans and Texas Democrats won't even bring up global warming. They're not being truthful with anyone. My opponent, Christy Craddock, has been on that commission for 12 years. 12 years of letting the fossil fuel industry pollute our soil, our water, and our air. Christy Craddock's father has been a state legislature here in Texas for 55 years. 55 years. Right now, what is needed on that commission is independent regulators. Regulators that do not answer to fossil fuel corporations. I am the only candidate in this race calling for a ban on fracking. Fracking contaminates our fresh water sources. And here in Texas, we do not have fresh water to pollute. We need that for drinking. We need drinking water. Also, I'm the only candidate calling for a ban on exporting liquefied natural gas. We do not want to get the global south, the developing countries, addicted to Texas methane. We cannot afford to release any more carbon into the atmosphere. Now, the way we fix this global warming problem is to transition quickly off of fossil fuels and to renewable energy. We have the technology to do it. Will it be a challenge? Yes, but it will be worth it. We must end the war on that which gives and supports life, our home, Mother Earth. We must treat her with great respect. The Green Party has the best platform, has the best vision, and is promoting the best policies to help improve the lives of our citizens and help improve our ecosystems and our freshwater sources that surround us and our families. Without a doubt, Green Party is the best party for this reason. We represent people, planet, and peace. That's what drives us. People, planet, peace. Now, in order for us to survive as a state and as a country, we must end the American empire as soon as possible. Not only is the American empire having an impact on the Middle East, it's also failing, it's a failed diplomacy in regards to Mexico, Central America, and South America. And the only opportunity we have to make this planet healthier and to end the American empire is to elect Dr. Stein as president. And with that, I will pass it to the moderator.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Dr. Stein, welcome to Houston. Welcome to Meridian Islamic Center. In the interest of time, we have about 30 minutes. We're just going to get started. I'd like you to maybe take 10 or 12 minutes and maybe just talk to our attendees here. This is the Muslim Meridian Islamic community. There's a lot of friends here from nearby. And maybe what you could help us understand is, Why is the Green Party the right party for this community as it relates to this presidency? And then we'll open it up to Q&A in about 10 minutes. So please go right ahead. You can use this one.
This one? That one. Okay, great. Thank you so very much. It's really an honor to be here with you tonight. An honor to be with my running mate, Butch Ware, and Eddie Espinoza. Greatly appreciate all that they are bringing to this dialogue. Together we are more than the sum of our parts, just like with you as advocates for people, planet, and peace yourselves, advocates for civil liberties, advocates to end the foreign policy of empire, this endless war abroad that the U.S. has been conducting, not only against the Middle East and people of Arab and Muslim heritage, but really black and brown people and yellow people all over the world for the past many decades. I myself grew up during the Vietnam War and learned very quickly that both of our political parties are a part of the problem. And this is a very ingrained problem. As Martin Luther King said himself back in the 1960s, my country is the greatest purveyor of violence in the world today. And we are seeing that really go completely off the charts here with the war on Gaza, with the genocide taking place against Palestine as we speak. So the Green Party is the one party which is not bought and paid for. We are not bought and paid for by the fossil fuel industry, not by the war profiteers, not by Wall Street, not by the health insurance or the pharmaceutical industry. As my running mate, Butch Ware, was saying, we are a party that is of, by, and for the people. You can't come to the Green Party and write a check for $1 million. That's different from the Democratic or the Republican Party or the Libertarian Party or Robert F. Kennedy's campaign. They all use these legalized loopholes for corruption. It is that corruption that has really made our lives in great jeopardy, all of us. These endless wars abroad are impoverishing us here at home, and they are endangering all of us as this genocidal war on Gaza is being expanded before our very eyes, first to the West Bank over the last many weeks as that massacre has spread to the West Bank, and now, first with the pager explosions in Lebanon, and then with the bombing and the missile strikes, the horrific violence inflicted on Lebanon, now then turning into an actual ground invasion by Israel into Lebanon. The Green Party is the one party that actually went on record as opposing the Israeli policy of ethnic cleansing and apartheid way back in 2006. So we are not new to this struggle. And I could go on at great length, but I want to leave room for other questions. But this is just to say that because the Green Party is not bought and paid for, because we are nothing but everyday people who are standing up for our values, for our morality. And let me just remind everybody that we whose hearts are still alive, whose souls are still breathing, we who oppose this genocide, we are the majority in this country and around the world. It is our elected officials who are bought and paid for by AIPAC, by the war industry, by the fossil fuel industry, by Wall Street. It is they who are supporting this genocide, not we the people. So as we struggle to shut down this genocide, to end the ethnic cleansing and the apartheid and the occupation by Israel, we are also struggling against empire. We are struggling for a foreign policy no longer based on military and economic domination around the world, but instead a foreign policy based on human rights, international law, and diplomacy. That is where the future lies. We can no longer be a world dominated by one empire. The US thinks that it is still in charge, but it's actually not. We are the quickest to go to war and to dismantle treaties and so on. We are really the bully in the schoolyard around the world, but we are no longer the dominant economic power. We now have rising powers in the global south. The so-called BRICS alliance now has a greater combined GDP than the US and its allies have. So power has shifted, and the US needs to grow up and stop being the bully in the schoolyard and become an adult in the room and transition to being not a monopolar power, but a multipolar power, sharing governance, sharing cooperation and collaboration with countries around the world according to international law and human rights. We can go there together.
Thank you so much. If you guys have questions, please line up on either side, and we'll kind of try to get you guys questions. So Dr. Stein, you've been going around the country, and I understand you've been going to a lot of Muslim communities. What have you been seeing as you've been being in the Muslim community? What are some of the feedback, some of the emotional conversations? What has that been like, and how has that changed or maybe validated your endorsement and selection of Butch Ware?
Yes. So our first gathering with the Muslim community in this election took place in February. It was actually in Illinois with the Muslim Civic Coalition in Illinois. And we were asked to come on very short notice, and we scrambled to get there, like basically on a one-day invitation, one-day advance notice, because we thought it was really important, and we were really anxious to get the dialogue going. And from the very start, I have to say, what I have seen from the Muslim and the Arab American community in general is courage, leadership, and moral vision, which is exactly what this country needs. This country needs to be woken up from its corruption, from its, its obsession with trivia. People are being hurt in this country as well as overseas. And the war on Muslim nations across the world goes hand in hand with a war on working people and Muslim Americans in this country. So this is really a shared crisis, and it is the Muslim and Arab American community that has really had a front row seat on the crisis of empire and has been very much the victim of these wars, these endless wars, the displacement, the regime change operations around the world. The Muslim community has had so much wisdom and hard-won experience about what it means to be living under empire and with empire. So I have been so grateful. In the Green Party, there are many like me who developed our ideas during the Vietnam War, which are very similar lessons, to what is being learned now. And it has felt to me like the beginning of such a powerful alliance with the Muslim community to really stand up and stand together and become an unstoppable force, demanding an end to empire and a world that basically puts human rights and international law and peace and civil liberties first in this country and around the world. So it's been absolutely wonderful to engage in this conversation.
So my questioners, help me out. Make your questions brief, and we're going to go 2 and 2 real quick so we can get as many questions as we can. So please just make your question really quick. I'll hold it while you guys.
Dr. Stein, there's a false notion out there that a vote for the Green Party is a wasted vote. What can we do to instill confidence that the values of the Green Party align with Muslims and that we should vote for the Green Party wholeheartedly?
Thank you. And your question? question real quick. Let's get yours in.
Hello, how you doing, Professor Stein? My question is that I noticed that Camila didn't express on what she would do on her first day in presidency, like what she would execute. What would you execute if you become, president first day?
Wonderful, great. So very briefly, a wasted vote is a vote that has been talked into endorsing genocide. That is worse than a wasted vote. This notion, this idea of wasted vote is propaganda from the war machine and from the power holders who are terrified of what we represent. They know that their days are numbered as empire. They know that the American people are demanding other choices. That's why they have struggled to get us off the ballot, and I'm glad to say we have prevailed in just about every lawsuit that they have forced against us, that we have prevailed, we are on the ballot. It is the American people who are demanding a choice. It is the American people who are demanding an end to genocide. Don't listen to the propaganda. As Frederick Douglass, the famous abolitionist, said, power concedes nothing without a demand. We must bring the demand for peace, the demand to end genocide, and the demand for a weapons embargo now to Israel. That's what the American people want. Every vote for the Green Party or for the Stein Ware campaign is a shot across the bow of empire, telling them that their days are numbered, that we the people are here. We demand a world that is going to work for all of us, a world that responds to our moral vision and the moral imperative that we end genocide and empire now. So that much on the wasted vote. Just forget that whole notion. What Kamala will do is anybody's guess, not only on day one, but throughout. However, she has made it perfectly clear what she will not do. She will not bring peace. She will not bring human rights. She will not bring relief to the millions of people, 2 million people right now in Gaza, 2.2 million people, who are looking at genocide in the face, who are facing daily torture and daily murder, particularly of children, the unconscionable massacres that are being committed. Kamala has told us she will do nothing to stop that. They told us that they were working hard night and day for a ceasefire, but actually in today's news, in Politico, it was reported, in fact, that it was at the urging of the Biden administration that Israel actually invaded Lebanon. So Israel is, the Biden-Harris administration is most definitely not on our side. So quickly, what our campaign will do. Number one, even before we get into the White House, if our campaign is elected, the very next day, we are picking up the phone and telling Bibi Netanyahu his genocide is over now. Because we have the power to do that. That's what Ronald Reagan did. Dwight Eisenhower did that. We control the weapons, we control the funding, we control the diplomatic cover and the intelligence. So we shut down this genocide now. Another thing we do on day one, we declare a climate emergency because it is an emergency. And the minute we declare that emergency, we unleash actually over $500 billion in funding every year to create the emergency transition to green, renewable, sustainable energy, transportation, agriculture, and housing. And we create the jobs to make that happen. It is not a choice between jobs and the economy or the environment. They have to go together. This benefits us all. Another thing we do on day one is we take AIPAC to court. Because AIPAC is violating the Foreign Agent Registration Act, and that is a 15-year jail sentence for violating FARA. So we will be taking AIPAC to court and shutting down AIPAC. We will also work to get money out of politics. We will also begin an antitrust lawsuit against the consolidated corporate media. We need to break up mainstream media and get back to freedom of speech and freedom of the press and real investigative reporting so that the American people can be informed and empowered to actually direct our democracy and take back this promise of democracy that has never been fulfilled, but it gets further and further away by the day. So we will be on the case, ensuring that we restore our civil liberties, our civil rights, our right to protest, our right to free speech, and our right to freedom of the press as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Dr. Stein. I wanted to ask, regardless of the outcome of this election, what is the Green Party's vision on continuing to build an anti-imperialist grassroots People's Party?
Thank you so much for that question. Did everybody hear that? Okay, we'll take a second one first.
So the Green Party's been on the ballot prior, you've been on the ballot prior. Can you help contextualize the level of attention and support you're getting this cycle relative to prior cycles?
Great.
And what the call to action is for everybody in this room?
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Great questions. So the first question was about, are we going to continue this struggle against empire, this struggle on behalf of, a people-powered democracy and so on. So I myself got the wake-up call around the year 2000. I had been a social activist. My background is as a medical doctor, and I had realized that the mother of all illnesses actually is our political system. So I transitioned from clinical medicine to political medicine. I got tricked into running for office for the first time in the year 2002. And that's when I really began to see that our lives really depend on restoring democracy and taking us out of the grip of empire and rising fascism, basically. And the Green Party, was right there. It was really my discovering the Green Party when I found, there is a different way of doing politics, a way that is not corrupt, a way that is of, by, and for the people. So we have been here because we realize that we are all in the target hairs. Our children's lives are in the target hairs. We really do not have a future at the rate that we're going. Virtually every dimension of society and of our lives are in crisis, whether you're looking at healthcare or housing, the skyrocketing cost of rent and homelessness, the rise of chronic disease in our country, the incredible costs of healthcare, which people cannot afford, and still we have abysmal health statistics. I just realized we need a system that's serving us rather than powerful special interests. And that knowledge is out there. So I must say, we are not going away. Once you see the problem, you cannot forget the problem. And once you see the solution, you cannot stop working on that solution because it is so exciting to see it. And to the second question, exactly, that is what's happening. We've been working on this. This is my third run for president, started in 2012 for the first time. And it is so clear to see how much more support there is. We were kind of ahead of the curve back in 2012 about breaking away from the duopoly, from the parties of war and Wall Street, we call them. We've always taken a lot of grief for daring to be so-called spoilers. But do you know where the spoiler term originated? Before the Civil War. The parties that were fighting to abolish slavery, they were called spoilers by the slavery parties. So that's how much credence to give to that term. So yes, there's a saying, I think from Martin Luther King, that the arc of the moral universe bends towards justice. It's long, but it bends towards justice. And it so feels to me that we are in that moment right now. The arc of the moral universe is bending, and we are the ones that are helping it to bend. That is what we must do. That is our calling.
Thank you.
Thank you. My questions are somewhat similar. Thank you so much for being here and giving the American people some hope. So if you were to become president, how would you face the military-industrial complex and bring diplomacy to the forefront? And do you think we're on track to get 5% of the vote so that we can get federal funding? And if so, what do you plan to do with it? Thank you.
Great, great, great. Wonderful questions. So,
Let me go ahead and get
oh,
these next
sorry,
two, please.
sorry, go ahead.
Thank you so much for being here. Actually, a lot of us have been supporters of the Democratic Party locally, and we're all thankfully changing. But one of the questions that a lot of Muslim influencers and people in the Democratic Party are throwing at us is that, well, Jill Stein supports the Assad regime. So I would love for you to dispel that for everybody here, because it's a very important issue.
Great, great.
Hi. Actually, I kind of heard of you from Shelby from YouTube, so I've been kind of following her, and she talks about you guys a lot. You and the other doctor was on her for the interview, and it was really good.
Who was that with? I'm sorry?
Shelby.
Okay. Oh. Yes,
From YouTube.
all right.
Yeah,
Yes.
so I've kind of been following her a lot, and I was a Democrat as well. So I have two questions. My first question is, it's a home loan modification, and I've noticed since the Biden administration been in, they have been denying, so I've been going through that. And then the second one is, I noticed this year, when you file your income tax, you don't get them back. They're putting a hold on it, or they want you to take the credits off. So what would you do in the process of all of that? Because I know it's a lot of homeless going on. I don't want to be a part of that homeless. So I've been trying to find ways, and I've been contacting my Congress now in my area, but it seems like no help. So what would you do to help people to get in a better scenario? I know Harry talk about middle class a lot, but it's not just a middle class, but I'm thinking about everything else.
Okay, all right, great. All right, thank you. Really great questions, and I've got a few of them here, so if I skip one, just shout out, so I will get back to it. But the first question about homelessness and all the stresses, whether you're renting or whether you own a home and you're trying to make your mortgage payments, the scales are steeply tipped against everyday people right now with the skyrocketing costs of rent, of mortgage payments, of interest rates, and so on. Policies are not being set for us. They're being set for banks and developers, and our neighborhoods are being gentrified and the costs are going up. At the same time that homelessness is being criminalized and people are being thrown in jail for not being able to afford homes. So the system is very crazy. We have a number of proposals. So number one, for the many people who are renters, we are proposing a nationwide rent control program so that everyone can have access to stabilizing their rents right now. We also propose a tenant bill of rights so that you cannot be thrown out by your landlord who simply wants to remodel and raise the rent, so that we are protecting people so they can keep themselves in their homes. We are also calling for the building of affordable housing on a major basis. So the United States used to have a program of public housing, but under Bill Clinton, that program was basically eliminated. We stopped building and even stopped maintaining public housing as a safety net for people who need it. Europe is doing very well with public housing. They call it social housing. It's mixed income. It's high quality, permanent housing. So if you are able to get a job, you don't get thrown out. And it's built along with public transportation and with green space, so that it's really a quality environment for people. So we're proposing 15 million units be built over the next decade, and we will begin that right away, actually, with with declaring the climate emergency. And we get that $500 billion a year. Some of that will be used for environmentally sound housing to address the housing crisis. On the income tax, I hadn't heard that rebates are not being provided, but let me say that the IRS is very short of money on purpose, because the most difficult thing that the IRS does is try to hold accountable the super wealthy who have all kinds of ways of dodging their taxes. So by underfunding the IRS, you help protect tax dodgers and the super rich who are not paying their fair share. So we will adequately fund the IRS, but the other thing we will do is shift the burden. The burden has been shifting for quite some time onto low-income people. In fact, you have to add up all the taxes together because we don't just pay income tax, it's also sales tax and property tax. And the total burden of taxes is extremely regressive at the same time that taxes on the super wealthy have been reduced. So we will turn that around so that low income and middle income people have a reduced tax burden. And we're asking the super millionaires, I think it's Elon Musk who's on the verge of becoming a trillionaire right now. That's absolutely obscene. There's no need to have, and billionaires doubled their wealth during the COVID epidemic. So while middle income and low income people got pushed further into poverty. So we need to change those rules around. We need to be advocating for everyday people, including through tax reform. About Assad, I don't know where this was coming from, but this referred to a statement in 2015, which was never approved by our campaign and which was taken down the minute we saw it on our website. So someone is ginning up, what can I say, an effort to perhaps divide the Muslim community by accusing us of being Assad supporters. We have never been Assad supporters. And that one statement that was not approved in 2015 was taken down by 2016. So this is like ancient history. And, we, just to say it again, we strongly support the rights of Syrian people to self-determination and to human rights. And we condemn human rights abuses of all sorts across the board. In the same way that I've been accused of being a Putin supporter, I am not a Putin supporter. I have never been a Putin supporter. This too, was a campaign that was concocted the moment I got the nomination in 2016. That's when they dragged out that photograph, which was of my attending a global media conference. Yes, it was hosted by RT, but it gave voice to many diverse opinions, including an opinion for peace. And at that conference, one of my key messages was actually criticizing the bombing that Russia had just undertaken of Syria. So we were actually there to criticize Putin in his bombing of Syria. So just to set the record straight on that. And then I was investigated for 3 years as part of this effort to smear me as a Russian asset. And the Senate Intelligence Committee looked into every detail under every nook and cranny for 3 years and found absolutely no wrongdoing whatsoever. So we have been completely cleared of that charge, but they can't find anything else to try to smear us with. So they keep trying to resurrect that, they're beating a dead horse there, and it no longer has traction because the record is actually very clear now where we stand on all that. The 5% thing. By reaching 5% in the popular vote, that then qualifies any candidate and their party for public funding in the next election. It also qualifies us for the ballot in many states. So that way, this is part of the game that the political establishment plays. They suppress competition by making it very hard to participate in the election. And they create these ballot access hurdles. You actually have to collect about 1 million signatures, which is very time-consuming and resource-consuming. That is now behind us, and we've successfully done that. But by getting to 5%, we will automatically be on the ballot in many, many states. So we'll hit the ground running in 2028 as well. Was there any other
I
question?
think
in
that covers
that
those
I did?
questions.
Okay, great.
Thank you. Isha prayer will be at 8:40. We have approval to go 10 minutes over, and these are the last two questions. Dr. Stein will be available to meet with sisters exclusively, by the way, in the back as soon as this is done. So at 8:40 onwards, she'll be there. So last two questions.
Dr. Stein, thank you for being here. I used to be one of those people who would vote shame people that voted third parties. I was always like, just take it up in the Democratic primary. Yeah. But after seeing their behavior in 2016 and 2020, I would vote third party no matter what state. And I was wrong, and I admit it. Okay, so my number one issue is Ukraine. And I'm never been so frightened of a nuclear war. And I'm going to be honest, right now, I don't care about the so-called sovereignty of Ukraine. I care about nuclear missiles falling here in Houston. And if Ukraine has to give up the eastern part to Russia so we can all just chill, fine, that's how I look at it. I've been hearing rumblings that Trump is wanting to go for a negotiated settlement, possibly cutting off the funding. I've kind of heard mixed. Okay, so my question is, why do you think Donald Trump is not serious? What are you not hearing from Donald Trump to say he's not serious about getting a negotiated settlement to end this thing in Ukraine?
Because everything, okay, sorry.
Last one.
Yeah, my question is, so recently we saw Imam Marcellus Khalifa Williams, an injustice took place where the state withheld the evidence that would halt his execution. And even now we're seeing Imam Jamil Al-Amin serve a life sentence for a crime that he didn't commit. Otis Jackson, the man who did commit the crime, is on record saying that he was the one that committed the crime, and the courts have not even thought about releasing Imam Jamil. So I was wondering, what are you going to do as president in order to ensure that the courts are seeking out true justice?
Great. Thank you.
One more, last question.
Thank you, Dr. Stein, for breaking the duopoly. Quickly, if you were to become a president, will you engage with a direct dialogue with Iran?
Thank you. Okay.
Great. Okay, so I will try to be very brief on Ukraine, and also I must say increasingly in Israel's genocidal war and the effort to bring in Iran into that war. And the potential expansion from Iran to Russia as well. Nuclear weapons could definitely also be exploding over the Middle East. And whether you're thinking about the Middle East or whether you're thinking about Ukraine, no nuclear confrontation is ever local, because nuclear exchange creates nuclear winter. And remember, nuclear winter goes everywhere. Nuclear winter is when the debris, when you see that mushroom cloud, that is a conveyor belt. It is moving debris into the upper atmosphere, which blocks sunlight. Are people familiar with the term nuclear winter? Okay, so it basically means the sun gets blocked, it gets dimmed, and agricultural production falls, which we cannot afford to happen whatsoever. And wherever we risk nuclear confrontation, it has devastating local impact, but it also has impact everywhere in the world. So absolutely, we must conduct dialogue, and everything that Donald Trump says tells me that he cannot be relied on. He has said in Israel that Israel needs to finish the job against Gaza. He's very erratic on Ukraine. And really in regards to all wars. And he takes this bullying position and hopes that he's going to scare his adversaries into compliance. So it's an extremely high-risk proposition. I think we have to stand up as American people and people of the world and stand up against these expanding wars and against nuclear weapons. We should be abolishing all nuclear weapons, and we must not risk these confrontations right now. On the horrific execution of Imam Marcellus Khalifa Williams. That was absolutely outrageous. The death penalty should be abolished. We will free political prisoners on day one, by the way, in our administration. We will ensure that political prisoners go free. And, and we will ensure that justice prevails because and there are many policies that we have, and I suggest you go to our website, jillstein2024.com, and go to the platform drop-down menu, and you can see specifically what we will do to ensure that we move from this system of criminal injustice, which is what we have right now. We have injustice throughout our so-called court system and our justice system that is really pervasive. So there's much that needs to be done, and we need to be standing up. Last one, okay. On Iran, yes. So, as John Kennedy, as JFK said, we must not negotiate out of fear, and we must not fear to negotiate. Negotiations are the alternative to war and conflict. And our current administration does not know how to conduct diplomacy. But for us, diplomacy is first resort. War and conflict is absolutely last resort.
Thank you so much. If people want to learn more, I believe there's volunteers outside, so you can get involved and learn more. We're going to pray Isha now. Sisters, you get to spend more time with Dr. Stein. Can we please show a round of approval and love for Dr. Stein? Thank you.
Inshallah, we're going to start Isha. Again, Dr. Stein's going to be in the sisters area, inshallah, for meet and greet after the prayer, inshallah. She will be there in the sisters area.
Pleasure to meet you. Thanks for being here. God bless you. We're so pleased to be here.
Likewise. Yes, apologies for the delay.
You're good. We're good. Many more.
Thank you.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله